Hello there, citizens of the Reject Nation. We are here to watch the episode 7 Easter eggs and breakdown from Paul. Heavy spoilers today. Of course, joined by my lovely friend, Andrew Gordon. How are you, Andrew?
I am doing better than Riley and Joel, but almost as good as Ellie, and hopefully as good as Paul's going to be if he doesn't miss another reference like he did last week. Damn it, Paul.
References, Paul. Guys, leave a like for heavy spoilers if you haven't done so already. He's struggling. Have you seen his views lately? Embarrassing. Also, guys, at shopzeroedition.com, Paul has a shirt. Fun guy. Here's an image. Real Rejects, same website because we're partnered up together. Got an exclusive Last of Us shirt as well. Look at it. I'm so proud of it. It's such an intricate design. If you've seen Shaun of the Dead, you kind of get a little bit of the splicing reference here. Don't worry, it's not a spoiler. They don't play PlayStation together at the end of this game.
You just spoiled by saying that.
And now people are going to be like, well, now I'm expecting them not to. I know. I understand how it goes. Guys, calm down. It's a cool shirt. Yeah. Respect it. Support the channel by buying one. Please. Please. I'm begging you. This is how YouTubers should promote their merch. Please buy my shit.
So The Last of Us 7 is now out, and this episode's filled with a ton of Easter eggs, callbacks to the game, and a lot of things that flesh out Ellie's backstory.
Totes.
Based on the Left Behind DLC, that saw us learning more about what happened to her during the time that Joel was at death's door. In the game, originally after he fell off the horse, you had a massive section where you played as her for about an hour, and you had absolutely no idea whether Joel was alive or dead. It was agonizing fighting through the infected to discover what happened, but here we find out in the opening that he's okay. You did have a week wait, but yeah, it wasn't as tense as that hour-long session.
I still feel like probably by next week's episode, we'll still get we got to be getting at least something related to what occurs within that hour, right?
I mean, of course, and obviously, this isn't a spoiler, but if you've seen the trailers, in allude to reference to what you're saying, yes, we are going to be getting, I believe so, yes.
Say in allude to reference?
Yes, I just made up that word, but yes, in reference to what you were saying, yes, we will be getting that from the trailer we've watched.
In allude to it, yes.
Allude to it, yes. Thank you for the correction. See, he's not just one of my best friends. He's here to correct.
I'm a corrector
of grammar. He does this too off camera. He corrects me all the time. So.
But I got to do best here. Buy a shirt.
Now, when The Last of Us Part 1 remake was released last year, I was thinking that they might add in the Left Behind chapter so it happened in chronological order. They didn't know, and Sandman's the only show I've seen come with DLC, so they dropped it in here where it should take place in the story. However, they do skip over a big part of it, dealing with Ellie searching for supplies. In the game, the story was split in half, and we ended up getting two scenarios set inside a mall.
Yes.
Throughout the DLC, you jump back and forth between the two, and in the first you saw what we get in the mall with Riley. In the second section, it was a completely different location set in the present, where you followed Ellie as she looked for supplies. This took you to a crashed military chopper in the area, and you found that the mall was teeming with infected. After getting the supplies, you made your way back to Joel, which is where you had to protect him from hunters who were out for his blood.
I need something like that in the show. I got to have at least 10 minutes of Ellie surviving on her own and having to take down infected on her own or fight some bad guys on her own. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm asking for like 10 minutes versus, hours worth of doing that in the video game itself. Because to me, that's some of the most intense of the video game, and I feel like it would only elevate Bella Ramsey if they provided that.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
We really need to have that. Like, that is a very important section of the game. It's not a long, extreme, major section of the game, but it is an important section of just fleshing Ellie out more, just seeing that she can survive on her own as well, and just shows how strong and stoic of a character she is. So I really would be really saddened and disappointed if they do not do that in any way, shape, or form. Yes. But I got to imagine they're going to. I just don't see a scenario where at least 5-10 minutes of showing her on her own, showing that she can, endure and survive by herself. So I'd be very disappointed and very shocked if they don't do that.
Yes. And if they could tone down the wokeness, that'd be great.
But guys, buy a shirt too.
Buy a shirt, please.
Now we start off with a snowy abandoned neighborhood, which we learn is where Joel and Ellie went to after the mall. Upon returning home from hunting, you saw that Ellie had hitched up somewhere like this, and they really managed to recapture the look of the location. Similar to the source material,
Definitely.
we find Joel in the basement on a mattress, and Ellie's been doing DIY surgery in order to try and heal him. In there, we can also catch an empty tool rack, and these have all been taken and likely used for weapons. It reminded me of the kind of houses you'd find in the game where everything had been picked clean because I'd been spamming the triangle button. Now, Joel tells her to go to Tommy, and last week he, of course, wanted him to take her. His worst fears come true, and he's put her in a lot of danger and is now holding her back. Joel is very much the kind of person who would just ditch someone who was in this position because in this world, it doesn't really allow for hangers-on. As she puts the coat on him, I think we see genuine love in his eyes, and he realizes this is more than what he's had before. With Tess, she even said that he didn't really love her, and they were just together because they were both good at surviving. He very much sees Ellie as a second daughter though, and she views him as the father that she never had. Now we sort of get a similar plot device to Left Behind, and as something new happened in that, we then cut to the past. Ellie's about to step out of the basement at this point, and we flash back to her in a Fedra training camp.
I know we keep pausing a lot, but I gotta say, what I like about the addition of Joel being out of it as he's dying is that in the game, he's very much just unconscious.
Yeah.
And here, Pedro's awake. You know, he's suffering and he's like on the verge of just passing out the whole time. But I like that you get to see him become very emotional because he's a master at communicating through his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Which does wonders for him when he's the Mandalorian. So yeah, I think that was great to see it here.
Yeah, we can see that she has a Walkman, and this is something that she also had in the comic. As she runs circuit,
comic?
we can hear her listening to All and On by Pearl Jam. They're quite an important band in the franchise, and their song Future Days was a thing that constantly popped up throughout.
Sure.
At the time of Part 2's release, there was a big thing about how the song didn't actually get released by the time the outbreak happened. However, Naughty Dog pointed out that they'd done a live show where they played it so the characters could actually know the song. Honestly, I don't think people would have cared because it is quite sad obsessing over this type of stuff.
Yeah.
However, the outbreak was moved forward 10 years for the show, so if that song pops up here, I'm gonna fucking kick off. I'm fucking furious. This moment is pretty much the Academy in the comics, and it's clear they wanted to tie back to that often overlooked Last of Us offshoot.
Did you know there were comics?
I did know there were
I
comics.
did not know there were comics.
But I have not read any. Which
oh my God. What?
I know.
What?
Yeah. I mean,
In lieu of learning this, I want to buy some comics.
I understood that reference, by the way.
And I understood that you should buy a shirt while you're at it, too.
I do need to get one. But yeah, no, I do need to get on the comics. I know I'm an evil man. I don't love Last of Us enough. But I really should get on the comics for sure.
Damn, that's shocking to know.
However, in that we saw Ellie with Riley. Raz here, she's already left. The bullies there capitalize on this, and one called Bethany rips her headphones off and taunts her for having no one to fight her battles. It's clear Ellie gravitates towards authority figures, and Riley is very much a prototype Joel protector figure. We learn from Captain Kwong that she's been acting differently the last couple of weeks since Riley left, and her friend departing is another example of someone leaving her. Ellie never really got to know her mother. She was palmed off by Marlene, Tess died, and Joel tried to get rid of her with Tommy. You can see why she told Sam she was tired of being alone like Al Green, and I think it's really good writing to sow the seeds of this in this flashback moment. It's clear everyone has ties to the past they hold on to, just like Ellie does, and we see that even Captain Kwong has trouble letting go. He has a faded picture of his family on his desk, and I'm guessing these died during the initial outbreak. Now Ellie's been thrown in the hole several times before, and instead of punishing her, Kwong wants to give her some advice. He suggests that she aims to be an officer and demonstrates this path by throwing down his keys. The first path is a cub, and the second being keys is symbolic because this will open up doors for her. They also added a really cool.
Is that a
Easter
Naughty
egg on
Dog?
it too, and we catch the Naughty Dog.
Oh, no way!
I just noticed that right at
this conversation and scene is very much another side of Fedra that we haven't seen before. In the game, they are pretty much always your enemies, as are the bandits that you encounter along the way.
You pressed the pause button?
I'm sorry.
No one has authority to press the space bar.
By the way, buy a shirt. I do like, though, that they have expanded upon, the military with Fedra a little bit in terms of showing from their perspective, because obviously, as Paul just mentioned in the game, everything was from Joel and Ellie's perspective, and Tess as well when we were in that portion of the game. So you really just only viewed them as the bad guys. You realize in this show, everything's not just black and white, and there is some gray area there when it comes to Fedra. So I actually do like that they have expanded on them, and just seeing everything from their point of view. And there is a reason why they do the things that they do. I'm not saying I'm fully behind everything they do, but I understand why they do it. It makes for interesting drama, at least, you know, and perspective just from seeing their point of view on the show.
You pressed the space bar for
I
that?
know. I did. I'm so sorry.
No, I agree. It's very Last of Us 2 to be doing it.
However, the series has shown things from their point of view because in the game, we were locked to Joel and Ellie's perspective. Really shows you all these kinds of points of views, and it allows you to actually sympathize with them. Kwong believes that Fedra is the only thing holding the world together, and that if they go down, the world will fall apart. In Kansas City, we saw what things were like if Fedra were ousted, and the people there were carrying out murders and just doing horrible things. Fedra also helped to push the infected underground there, and Kathleen's need for revenge unleashed this on her people. Now in her room we catch some dinosaur drawings and also a picture of some moon cycles. We'll go over what these
Those are the
foreshadows
two
in the
things
spoiler
she
section,
loves.
but these being Ellie's interests are very, very important. We also get the No Pun Intended book by Will Livingston, and her knife just slightly below it out of view. This is actually Volume 1, or as we see Riley busting out Volume 2 later on. This is a slight change up from the game, as in those they found it in the mall when coming across a hermit's camp. Riley then read it as you made your way through, whereas here she has it already.
Oh, I got something else.
And in the game, that goes on for a very, very long time. And I loved every second of it.
Yeah, no, I love that they give you that option in the game. Like, you can either, like, stop listening to the pun jokes or you can keep going. And, yeah, every time I play, I'm like, no, I want to keep hearing them.
They got so much in there, and it's cool that they draw a parallel with that in the relationship with Joel of carrying that over. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's really makes it stronger.
Absolutely. It helps, you know, just bring the bond together for sure between the two.
Absolutely, buy a shirt.
We also catch Ellie reading a Savage Starlight comic, which I think is titled Negentropy. Anyway, in our episode 5 video, we talked about how these were collectibles that you'd pick up in the game, and the Negentropy issue was something that you came across on your travels. We see the inside of it being a big action scene involving a man and a woman busting their way in somewhere. Probably reaching, but I think this is very much how Ellie views her and Joel, and the guy in the book even looks slightly similar to how he does in the game. Doesn't he?
Sure.
Either way,
Sure, why
her
not?
room is very
We're not
empty
stretching
since
there.
Riley
Reach.
left. However, it's not too long until she returns, but we get another tour of her room and see some tapes. The top one by Aha foreshadows a great moment in the second game, and the Etta James one plays into this episode later on. I Got You Babe is a song we hear Riley and Ellie dancing to at the end, and this music was also what they jammed away to in the mall on Riley's fateful last night. You also see a poster for Mortal Kombat 2, and this makes a big return later on in the
I
episode.
just played that in
During
an arcade the other
entry,
day.
We saw as Ellie and Joel came across a cabinet for it, which in the game was a fighter called The Turning. This started a character called Angel Knives, but with the show being a Warner Brothers property, they have the rights to use the Mortal Kombat characters. I think that the game developers likely knew this was going to be an Easter egg in advance, and in the recent Last of Us remake, they actually added an Mortal Kombat 2 poster. Riley then climbs into the window, and she ends up sticking her hand over Ellie's mouth. This is slightly different to the game.
Yeah, she tried to
as in that
pretend to
she
bite her.
pretended to bite her.
Yep.
This, of course, foreshadowed her fate, and let's play the scene side by side so you can see what they kept and also what they changed.
I love these. I would have pretended to melee her.
Riley? Ow. Riley! Ow. I landed on my hip. What the hell? I thought I was bitten. I know. It was kind of awesome.
Where have you been? What the fuck is wrong with you sneaking up on me like that? It was a joke, okay? I thought it would work better. In my mind, you loved it.
You're not gonna kill me, are you? I haven't seen you, and I don't even know how long. 45 days. Well, 46, technically.
So,
Midnight, yeah.
how's it going? I thought you were dead. You've been gone for 3 weeks.
Wanna know what I've been up to? All this time, I thought you were dead.
Are you okay? I'm fine. I just ran away for a bit, that's all.
Here. Look. No way.
Where were you?
I joined the Firefly.
Oh, fuck you.
You're a Firefly.
You're a Firefly? Jesus.
Are we cool? I disappeared and you're mad. And I owe you an explanation. Let's get out of here and I'll tell you all about it.
We'll tell you everything. First, you have to promise me something.
It's almost morning, and I have military drills. You know, where we learn how to kill fireflies.
So yes.
I'm not going anywhere with you.
It's great. It's 2 a.m. and in a few hours I have drills where we learn to kill fireflies.
Put some pants on and let's go.
Get dressed.
So there are some slight changes there, but lots of similarities too.
I do like that for the show they chose to play it with a more immediate intensity versus the way how Riley kind of is in the game is she seems to be trying to brush off anything that's serious. Whereas the actress plays into the fact that like, no, I got something concerning and serious that I will be telling you a little bit later, which works. Whereas the Riley in the game is kind of concealing that side of herself and is just trying to play off like, no, we're just going to have a good time. That's all that matters today. We're just going to have a good time. Like, I don't want you to think about the fact that I'm leaving. We're just going to have a good time, you know?
Yeah.
And also the way they play into Ellie's passion with aligning herself with Fedra and Riley's passion for aligning herself with the Fireflies. That is a starting point for their dynamic in the show.
Yeah.
Whereas you even see here, Ellie doesn't seem too perturbed by it, you know?
I like both versions. The video game, how she pretends to bite her, and then in this one where she kind of just covers her mouth in a more serious way. But I personally like the video game one just a little bit more, where she snuck up on her and tried to bite her. Just, I don't know, because I just love that aspect of their relationship. They're very joking with each other. And there were certain things, again, that I liked in the video game a little bit more, whereas here I thought there were some interesting and better choices that they made in the TV show. But again, they both worked for me.
Riley is now a Firefly, and huge shout outs to our editor Matt for picking up the sort of Romeo and Juliet vibes here with them being on opposite sides. In the game, as you're cutting between timelines, you join Ellie and Riley jumping into an abandoned apartment block, which is where you hear trucks outside.
Oh, man. That was close, huh?
However, here we see them very much moving through the streets as trucks travel through looking for people breaking curfew. They eventually go down into an alleyway and then into this, which is when they bust out the torches. Ellie's doesn't work and she has to hit it, and in the game from time to time you'd have to shake the controller when your light was going off. At this point in the game we learned how Riley became a Firefly, which I'm going to play with the show version so you can see how things slightly differ.
Remember that Firefly you bit and stole his gun?
Yeah, I remember him.
That's Trevor. I saw him walking down the street, so I tailed his ass.
One night, you were in the hole. I got bored, so I snuck out.
I follow him into this alley, and all these Fireflies ambush me. They took me right to their hideout, to Marlene.
I was on my way back, being stealthy like I am, and this chick popped out of nowhere.
Chick like our age?
No, like 40.
Were you scared?
Terrified. I thought this time she would actually shoot me. But instead, she just says, "What took you so long?"
Whatever, anyways, old. She said she was impressed watching me sneak around, avoiding guards.
She was expecting me.
And she just made you a Firefly?
Something like that.
And she asked what I thought about Fedra, so I told her the truth. They're fascist dickbags, and they're the ones that should be getting hanged for their crimes.
That whole almost killing me thing was a test. She wanted to know I was committed.
Oh.
She's like, all right, if you want in, you're in.
That's it?
Now in the show, the woman she's talking about is clearly Marlene, who recruited her personally, whereas in the game she was brought to her. It makes it seem like Marlene's been keeping an eye on Ellie for a long time, and that she's noticed those around her too. Potentially if she had someone on her side that was close to Ellie, Ellie would be warmer to her, and it also explains why the Fireflies didn't immediately kill Ellie when she was bitten. Marlene has a close attachment with Ellie, and her plans to keep her safe, and knowing Riley might have helped with that. However, it could also be the reasoning why she shipped Riley off, as she didn't want her running away with her friend. We discover later on that Riley actually asked if Ellie could join her, but Marlene said no. She just wanted to keep her in the QZ, and potentially they may have moved Riley for that reason. Now in the apartment block, they also find a guy who's seemingly overdosed on pills. Ellie and Joel, of course, come from the same QZ, and it's possible that Joel even sold him these, as they are similar to what we saw him dealing in episode 1.
How ironic would that be? In some ways, they've already crossed paths. Via pills. Pills. They unite everyone. They bring everyone together.
I'll have to change the name of the show, The Last of the Pills. No. The Last of the Shirts. No. I'm failing, guys.
Boy.
It could be teasing the danger that Joel has around him and how his actions have a negative effect on people. Now, a body lying against a wall like this is also something that very much foreshadows the infected later on. Most of those that had cordyceps taking over their body and growing out their face, and they'd eventually hit a point where they knew they were going to die if they didn't become full-on clickers. Thus, they'd head to a wall, lay down, die, and grow into it, and in the games they'd spread out spores. Though the one in the mall isn't dead, he's very much following the same pattern, and the body against the wall here, at least
so
to me, sets
haunting.
that up. It collapses through the floor, and they take his booze with them and drink it on the roof. Ellie pretends to love it, and this is a complete opposite of the campfire scene in which he spat it straight out. She's trying to impress Riley, and we do see a different side to her here.
For Christ's sakes, Paul! In the game, there's a drinking moment. I brought this up the last video. What are you doing, man? I'm gonna play some of the clip. Here's some of the clip.
Want some? Sure. Oh, oh my God. Oh, here. It's disgusting.
See? It's the one thing I have to hold on to.
That was a good reference in the Easter egg that you caught. I mean, I noticed it too right away, but...
Yeah. Way to toot your own horn. I'm the one who said it.
Yeah. I mean, at least he kind of still mentioned the drink, but yeah, no, I feel you.
It's in the game.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's in the game. Why isn't it mentioned? I don't understand, Paul.
Now, we learn that it's not the first dead body Riley's seen, and that she's witnessed her parents' corpses. Most of the kids taken in by Fedra were orphans, and this allowed them to train the kids to be soldiers. If you have ties to your family and stuff, you're less likely to be loyal to things like Fedra, especially when they're oppressing the very people you're connected with.
Jedi kind of worked that way
see
too.
Riley's gun, and we then see her obsessing over it. This is something she's done throughout the series, and the allure of power means a lot to her, as she's not really experienced the bad side of it. At this point, they talk about Fedra and also the Fireflies. Riley sees them as fascists, whereas Ellie sees them as holding everything together. Riley thinks the Fireflies are going to bring freedom, but we've already seen from Kathleen the kind of thing it leads to.
Yeah.
She ended up promising fair trials, that people would live if they gave up others, and in the end this was shown to all just be a lie. Fedra also do terrible things too. I think what it boils down to is that no matter what happens, the worst traits of humanity will always emerge in some form or another, no matter the side.
We gotta keep
Well,
order,
there are
man.
good sides too, and obviously these sides have their appeals as well. In the end though, whichever side is in charge will oppress the other side in some form, and thus we get these divisions that lead to others attempting to seek power. When they finally get it, they want to punish the other side, who now become the oppressed ones, and the cycle starts again.
Yep.
Riley later brings up how Fedra have starved people, and in the game when you got to Pittsburgh, you found graffiti talking about how the people there were famished.
Yes.
Ellie said it didn't help that the Fireflies bombed the storage depot, which Riley sees as being propaganda. Hit up any social media site, you're gonna see people talking about the faults on the other political side whilst dismissing their own. But I think Ellie and Riley show we can find common ground with stuff like this.
So Trump and Biden supporters can get along. Paul just taught me that.
Paul just unified an entire... I mean, he missed a big reference in last episode, but he just might have unified an entire country.
That's right, guys.
That's what Paul's all about, unifying.
Unifying. It's time to make this an alt-right channel.
Now Riley says that the Fireflies don't carry out attacks when civilians are involved, but tell that to Tess and Robert. Now in the game there was an extra dimension to this, as there was an announcement that said there hadn't been an infection for 30 days. Riley said this was a lie, and that it was just covered up. I was hoping that this would appear in the show, as we of course saw Joel having to burn lots of bodies in episode 1. Now, this scene does kind of mimic the game a bit, as you first run along rooftops before coming alongside the mall like what we have here. The pair then drop down through a collapsed roof, and they enter the Liberty Gardens Mall. This is the same as what the location is called in the game, and they do rearrange things slightly. Originally, you saw the
Kind of a
Type
lot.
Blitz poster, which was a water pistol I used against Riley during one of the pair's final scenes together. It also came across a tent for a man named Winston, who we learned had been living in the mall as a recluse. As I mentioned earlier, he was who you got the pun book from, and you learned that he died of old age. In this world, that's a big thing, as it's very much survival of the fittest, so making it to that point really means a lot.
And Winston's also where they got the drink from.
I actually was waiting for him to say that.
I was like, oh, he's going to bring it up
Yeah.
right now.
I really do think, though, I mean, again, I pointed this out at the end of the last episode. One thing that really bothered me in the episode, again, I loved the episode overall. They were not doing a very good job of sneaking around. They were being extremely loud.
Yeah.
And again, I get it for the audience. We need to hear what they're saying in terms of dialogue and audio. I get that. But you can still be in a quiet tone and we can still be able to hear them. Whereas if you're talking loud and we're sneaking around with Fedra around, it's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to suspend my disbelief as much for that. And I'm going to get now a little more on the nitpicky side when it's done throughout the entire sneaking about. So that got a little bit under my skin as you can tell, but not as much as you with the drink. But I still agree with you. He's got to mention the drink.
Lazy bum, Paul.
Now from here you went to the Halloween shop, and then you threw some bricks at some car windows to see who could smash the most.
I want
The
that
winner
scene.
smashed the like button as well, and then from here the characters turned the power on and went on the merry-go-round. Here though, they flipped the power on first before they head into the mall.
So, turns out, the whole city has power. They just flipped the circuit breakers. All you gotta do is flip it back.
So, turns out when Frederick connected that block up to the grid, this place got connected too. Not that they know.
Now at this point we get a scene that's very reminiscent of the game, with Ellie opening up a door into the mall in which we see it all light up. We also have a play on the escalator scene which pulls directly from that.
Check me out, man. This is so cool. Whoa, look at me.
This is the first wonder on the date now, and from here we catch a poster for Dawn of the World Part 2.
Wow. Yes, I was going to point that out too, but did he just not mention the song? Or is that in the spoiler section later on?
Look, Paul, we're making a list of everything you don't mention, and we're coming for you, buddy.
We're just watching this video to see what you missed, Paul.
Yeah, we are the YouTube comments. You put hours of work into a video, and we're here to only tell you the couple of things you might have skipped over.
Like Curtis and Viper 2, this was a fictional movie
Twilight.
within the Last of Us universe, and here's what they had to say about it in the game.
Who dragged you to see that
Monsters
movie?
are everywhere.
I saw this right before the outbreak.
He did? Does he totally gut her by the end?
Nobody gets gutted. It's a dumb teen movie.
Who dragged you to see it then?
I don't know.
Always has his guard up.
Just stay focused, all right?
I also love the little back in 5 minutes sign, and it shows just how much people were caught off guard.
You all right?
I'm good.
Unless you like to clear your mouth on your
Yes.
throat on camera.
Yes, I do. It's
Sometimes you sniff. You go, let's find any of that.
I'm
Or
so
any of the
glad. I'm
reactions.
so glad we're pointing this out to the internet. Something that to make fun of me, because falling asleep on camera wasn't enough in the last year.
Wait, what? When did you fall asleep on camera?
On your brother's channel.
That's what happens at the Jabby Kuwait channel. The guests fall asleep. Not here. We got too much G fuel keeping us alert. Take that, Jabby.
Guy just popped out for a poo and didn't end up coming back. Everything happened really quick, but at least people had time to leave Foot Locker, and probably also get loads of toilet paper. We
Yeah.
also get an added lingerie scene with Ellie trying to smarten herself up after Riley makes a joke about imagining her in it. From here we go to the merry-go-round, which pulls directly from the PlayStation Classic. It's probably the most memorable part of Left Behind,
Yes.
and in the game it's during this that Riley gets out the pun book. Symbolically, merry-go-rounds are a sign of innocence and simplicity that puts
Looks
people
horrifying.
in a loop far removed from the world around them. Literacy works, so they're often used as sources of magic and adventure, and carousels like this are commonplace at amusement parks as they bring joy to lots of people. This is just the pair enjoying what for them is their last night on Earth before a major change happens. Though Ellie doesn't know it, Riley is well aware she's meant to be going away, and either way, Ellie is about to lose her forever. Now, similar to what happens in the game, the ride breaks down and it spoils the moment. The fun is cut short, and it's very much foreshadowing the journey that lies ahead. Now, we discover that Riley was about to turn 17, and that she'd been assigned to sewage detail. This is all that Kwong thought she was good for, and you can see why she ended up running away.
Racist.
Fedra and the duties assigned to people were very much prisons themselves, and in this world, people didn't really have the freedom to do what they want. No one was lucky enough to just sit around talking about movies all day, and you can see why people gravitated towards the promise of freedom and liberation. Now, on the merry-go-round in the game, Riley busts out the pun book, but here they kind of skip over it, save it for later, and just go straight to the photo booth. The show being set 10 years earlier does mean that they can't bring certain things over, and in the game it ended by asking if you wanted to share your photos to Facebook. Neither knew what that was, and instead you got printouts of the photos before the whole thing shut down. In a nice fourth wall breaking moment, you could actually share the photos you made in-game to your own Facebook, and that was an awkward conversation explaining to my dad why I was posting pictures of you.
Who are those two girls? Like, what?
Now, in both the show and game, we get the little bunny mascot. However, the name's changed up because of the whole Facebook thing. The game has it being called ShareSnap, whereas the show is Starshot because they couldn't have posted it online. With it being set in 2003, yeah, Facebook wasn't around then, and it's genuinely one of my favourite Easter eggs in the entire show, and I love when they put this much thought into it. Now from here, they go into the arcade. We see machines for Tetris, Frogger, Attack from Mars, and Daytona, USA.
There's no shot for shot with the scene with the taking the photos. It's so similar. It's like almost identical. Look, it's not like you missed something, but lazy, Paul. Hours of work wasted.
This was about driving across the country, which may be a link to Joel and Ellie doing it, as there's two seats there. Also, in the game, Ellie jumped in a Jack and Daxter machine, and Naughty Dog, of course, made that game. Also, worth pointing out that Ellie's wearing the shirt that we saw her wearing in episode 1, and this was also the shirt that young Nathan Drake wore in Uncharted 3. Anyway, in the show, Ellie gets to play Mortal Kombat 2, whereas in the game, the turning cabinet didn't actually work. Instead, Riley described the game to Ellie as she had her eyes
I love
closed,
this scene.
and you
This is
just
the most
imagine
memorable
pulling
part
off
for
the
me.
combos.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Naughty Dog didn't have the resources to design the mechanics for a fighting game for what amounted to about 2 minutes in the game, but here we catch them playing it out. They go to the Deadpool stage, and at Deadpool is when you bet on who's gonna die. Put my entire house on Riley, and now I'm moving to Vegas, baby.
I still do prefer
The video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels more intimate, especially for the connection that they're building.
Yeah.
Like, this is more relatable.
Of course.
Don't get me wrong. This is way more relatable to be bonding over this in that regard. But yeah, just using the imagination. Because I remember playing that part and getting swept up in it myself,
Yes.
And then I'm imagining it with her because it's like, it feels like a little cringy and goofy at first.
Yeah.
And then you get lost in it and you're like, oh, this is effective. And you are creating a memory together.
I agree with you. It's much more relatable for us, but I love the vivid imagination. Not only, that Neil Druckmann and the writers came up with in the game, but I just like, again, just showing the bond and like Riley, like, I don't care what the situation is. I'm going to find a way to help Ellie and cheer her up in this moment and let her get
Use the imagination.
But get the feeling of playing the game even if it doesn't work. It just showed like Riley has a certain level of, going to whatever extreme she needs to make sure she helps and pleases her friend. And I just thought it was really interesting and broad and really delicate, cool choice that they chose to do that scene. I was like, because I remember the first time playing that scene, I'm like, I don't know how this is gonna work. Like, just imagine the character, and then as the scene like kept on going, I was like, this is really freaking cool. I love this.
Really strong.
Yeah, and then every time I've played, I'm like really looking forward to this part again because I love that part.
And
it's great.
And it shows them as like they're children using their imaginations to escape. And I think a big part of survival instincts, oftentimes if you're a child who has to be a survivor, oftentimes a great way of escapism is using your imagination. So I liked having that be implemented for the characters, and I feel like you kind of detract that. I mean, of course, if you haven't played the game, you're not going to give a shit.
Of course.
Yeah.
This is straight up just a flashback only, whereas in the game, it's a cross between a flashback and also in present time. She's looking, as Paul mentioned earlier, she's looking for the medical supplies for Joel to, sew him back up with his wounds. So in the University of Eastern Colorado Mall. So, yeah.
Yes. Thank God you specified it.
Anyway, Riley chooses Mylena and she pulls off her fatality, which Ellie described her as doing back in episode 3.
There's this one character named Melina who takes off her mask and she has monster teeth and then she swallows you whole and barfs out your bones.
You should do the Liu Kang fatality.
We cut to one of the infected who's been awakened by the lights coming on and all the noise. He's located in a toy shop, and this is very much a symbol of innocence, which he ends up destroying. We see 2 dolls here, and this could be a reference to the 2 mannequins in the clothes shop stand, which is where the attack happens in the game. Yeah, they just shrink it down so that it happens in the Halloween store rather than them going there. I think the change from mannequins to dolls, again, is to hammer home this creepy factor, and also the idea that this is Ellie's childhood being destroyed as things drastically change from this point onwards. She's no longer under the protection of Fedra and is basically made to flee the QZ with Joel. Now from here, Riley takes Ellie to Macho Nacho. This is another great Naughty Dog Easter egg, and in Uncharted, Nate asked Elena if she actually used to work there.
Oh.
He came across this in the mall behind as well, and now they've brought it across to the show, with it being where Riley was camped out at.
That's
The pun book comes out, and we hear the ones which also show up in the game.
What did the frustrated cannibal do?
Frustrated cannibal threw up his hands.
I get it, because he ate his hands. Lay it on me. He threw up his hands.
What did the triangle say to the circle?
You're pointless.
What did the triangle say to the circle?
You're so pointless.
You're so pointless.
Oh, in the back, Ellie discovers that Riley's been making explosives and that she was actually posted here by the Fireflies. These look identical to some of the weapons you get in Part 2, and as Ellie goes over, you can see that on the top shelf there is a Fedra container. They likely were going to put this in and deliver it, using guerrilla warfare to take them out. Riley promises Ellie that they wouldn't be used on her, but there's absolutely no way that Riley could guarantee that. Say Ellie did become an officer, then she would be the kind of person they'd target, and we see how people are very much forced to go against each other. Like the game, we learn this is her last night in Boston, and it plays off the back of this scene.
Ellie, I'm leaving.
They've asked me to leave.
Leave what?
Boston. I'm supposed to join a group in another city.
They're sending me to a post in the Atlanta QC.
I argued with them to stay here.
I asked if you could join so we could go together.
But you know how Marlene is. Nothing's easy with her. Everything's a test.
But Marlene said no. Who the fuck is Marlene? Marlene is the lady that helped me get... It doesn't matter.
They're picking me up tomorrow.
Tonight's my last night in Boston.
Why did you bring me here?
I wanted to see you.
Why did you bring me here? Because I wanted to see you.
No, why did you bring me here?
I don't know.
Now, the Atlanta QZ is also something we hear about in the game when you're in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a city that had overthrown Fedra, and we discover that some of the remnants ended up fleeing and going to Atlanta. In a Halloween store, we see a decoration popping out of a grave, and this is similar to the creature bursting out of the coffin in the game counterpart. Riley gives her the pun book, explaining how she got it, and she talks about the doubt that she has going with them. However, Riley says because Ellie never had a family, she doesn't understand. Even with the bad, you still accept people, and later on when Joel becomes her surrogate father, she very much accepts all the good and bad things in him. Ellie's been put through the ringer, and she goes through how Riley left her, gave her this amazing night, and is then leaving her again. I think Ellie gets so attached to people that she's willing to let them walk all over her to some extent and believe their lies because it's easier than losing them. Riley says she's sure about leaving, and Ellie says that she'll miss her, which is when Riley gives her a werewolf mask whilst Riley gets a clown one. The characters wore both these masks along with a couple of others. Ellie ended up doing her best roar in the werewolf one, which was a really fun way to start off the mall section.
Ashley Johnson must have lost her voice.
You went to a clothes shop, which is when you had a water pistol fight using the Typhoon Blitz, which you saw a sign for early on. After this, Riley put the tape on, and you danced on top of the table like what we get here. It's side-by-side time, and just be aware that we've muted the music here for copyright reasons. A bit awkward, but that's YouTube.
So really quick, you know what I noticed playing the DLC on that Super Soaker fight? Try not to spoil. There's a fight in Part 2 with another woman. You know which fight I'm talking about? There's only one other woman she fights in Part 2.
Yeah. I know which. Now I know.
And it kind of reminded me of that in a way. Except, not as violent or as intense.
And not with water
no
pistols.
But it's like that's kind of setting the ground for that.
That's an interesting or foreshadowing that you picked up there because I'd never even thought about that. But yeah, no.
Because that's the only other time she fights someone with a stage like that. You know what I'm saying? People who play the game.
Yeah, without going into too much spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once we get into the spoiler talk part, I guess we can get into that.
Nah,
We'll save it.
I'm over it.
We'll save it for season 2.
Save it for season 5. Got it.
People say that we don't know what love is. Really? To make it.
Sorry. Really? Come here.
I got you, baby. Say I love won't pay the rent before it's earned.
Here. What is it?
Don't go.
Hey.
Oh, the DLC. When I first played this,
Don't go.
Oh, I was
cried.
it crushed my soul when she said that.
yeah. Yeah.
Got flowers in the spring, yeah. I've got you to wear my ring.
Yeah.
And when I'm sad,
Sorry.
and when I get scared, always around.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
What do we do now?
We'll figure it out.
What do we do now?
We're gonna figure it out. But I don't think Marlene's gonna go.
Wait.
Let 'em see we're wrong.
Not like in the game, the moment is ruined by the infected. One thing I have criticised the show for is that I think they kind of missed out on the bigger infected moments from the game, such as the skyscraper and the hotel basement sections. This was another where they lessened it a bit and removed the panic of running through the mall. The chase ended with it seeming like he got out, but the scaffolding fell and Ellie plummeted down. Riley jumped back down, and this was very much her giving up her life to save Ellie. Yeah, she ends up saving her as well, but to me the impact of having her jump back into the fire is kind of lessened a bit. Now, we did go back and forth at the Kevin's Spoilers office over why they changed it to the one infected, and our editor Matt actually said that she wouldn't have been as scared of the Horde in episode 5 if she'd already seen one. That was the first time this version of Ellie experienced it, and therefore it wouldn't have made sense if she'd seen one before. Personally, I think it's just a budget thing, and having to film a chase through a mall would obviously cost a fucking load, and you'd have to loot more than Foot Locker to get that back. Should call it Loot Locker, not the time or place.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it might ultimately come down to budgetary restraints. I mean, it's more effective in the game for the fact of you're running and running and running away, and you think you got this cathartic release where, oh, I've escaped, I've done it, and then you're like, oh, never mind. Right, so you do have that effect, but I think this does hammer home a little bit more of the physicality of the weight of just what it's like dealing with just one of these guys.
Yes,
and they're two young girls, you know, so they're not like physically the strongest of taking on.
It's a more realistic situation where they can just take on one as opposed to running away from several. But again, understanding the situation of the stress of it, but. Again, I agree with you, but and I understand, like, we had just gotten this incredible horde and action sequence where they showed so much, so I can imagine a lot of the budget went towards that in terms of using infected for their action sequences, so I truly understand why, but I think, too, like you just said, I kind of like that they did just show one because, again, it shows how hard it is just to defeat one of them. And, again, like you said, it's two little girls. So, I mean, it makes sense, honestly.
Anyway, back in the present, Ellie goes up into the house and desperately searches for something to help Joel. Shout out to all my gamers who know what it's like hammering that triangle button constantly as you open up every drawer for just a little bit of cloth or something. Now, the frustration Ellie has here is mirrored in the past, with her lashing out in anger and smashing the glass like it's a button with a thumbs up on it. We get a similar shot composition to the game, and in the end, Riley makes a pact that they just lose their minds together.
I love Riley's reaction.
There's some more stuff over there you can break.
There's more stuff over there you can break.
see it, we got two options.
The way I see it, we got two options.
Option one, you take the easy way out.
What? We take the easy way out.
It's quick and painless. I'm not a fan of option one.
Quick, painless. No, I don't like option one.
Two, we fight.
Fight for what?
Option two. We just keep going.
We're gonna turn into one of those things.
There are a million ways we should have died before today.
It ends this way for everyone sooner or later, right?
And a million ways we can die before tomorrow. But we fight for every second we get to spend with each
I
other.
love that cut back in the game.
It's 2 minutes. Or 2 days. I don't want to give that up.
Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up.
Left behind.
I don't want to give that up. My vote? Let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
We could just be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together.
What's option three?
What's option three?
Sorry.
Damn, Reed and Ramsey fucking really made it their own. they really killed it in this scene. They really did.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah. It was not mimicking in any way.
Yeah, they really made it their own.
This is also a line reference in the game by Ellie when she discusses her past.
Austin, back when I was bitten, I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So, she says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
Also did a bit of deep digging, and the mall in the game was apparently built in 1968, with a show, of course, starting off in that year. Now, back in the present, Ellie finds a needle and thread so that she can stitch Joel up. Make sure you sanitize that, mate. Yeah, it's been sat in a drawer for 20 years, probably causing infection. Oh, never mind. In you go. Now, clearly, Ellie is trying to keep Joel going, and this is clearly because she lost Riley. She doesn't want a repeat of that, and she very much mirrors Joel not wanting to go through losing his daughter again. They found each other and someone to fight for, and we end with Ellie stitching up his wound in order to stop the bleeding. This shot is framed to mirror the ending of last week's episode, and whereas that was a dour note to finish on, this is a more hopeful one that closes out the episode. And before we get into the spoiler section of the video, I thought I'd give my thoughts. As a standalone thing, I did enjoy this adaptation of the Left Behind DLC, but I don't know if I'm a bit too close to the game, as I think some parts paled in comparison, and was just hoping things like the Horde and the Winter Mall sections would have been carried across. I think at this point, I'm kind of just accepting that the series will always just strip back the games that it mainly focuses on the human moments. I do think that leaves stuff being sort of repetitive at points though, and every episode other than 4 and 6, I believe, basically introduces 1 or 2 new characters that they then kill off at the end. So it is all good to be fair, but I think this formula almost stops it from being great. Those first 5 episodes especially were classics, but the last 2 have kind of dropped for me personally. Still good, but yeah, I just feel the constraints of the series are starting to show a bit. Now, Storm Reed did a really good job as Riley, and though I probably sound like I'm bashing it, I do think that viewed in a vacuum that this episode's really good. I just think that the show as a whole, it needs a bit more variety from the formula that we're getting. Maybe I am too close to the game, like I said, but it never really felt like they were following a format, or if they were, then it wasn't clear from that initial playthrough. Anyway, if you're loving the show and everything that it does, then hopefully you can at least see things from my point of view. And if you haven't played the game,
No, I hate
go
you.
Play, we're lucky that we have both these two adaptations, and there's definitely going to be people who are like, well, I prefer the game, and people who are like, I prefer the show. So yeah, everyone's going to have their own
Paul, you're
choice,
supposed to be
but
the
I'm sure you
unifier.
can
We
tell
want
from
both.
From how much I love the game and all the stupid little references.
I mean, he unified Republicans and Democrats, or Joe
know.
Biden supporters and Donald Trump supporters. Really, but you can't get video game and TV show.
Coward. British coward. Are there people who've played the game who would say that they prefer the show? I've met plenty of people who who played the game and love the show, and I've met people who haven't played the game and love the show.
I mean,
but I haven't met someone yet who's like, I think, I'm waiting till season 1 ends, but so far I think I might like the show more. I haven't met someone who feels that way.
I've just seen over resounding positive feelings towards the show.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen too many. I only like the game. The show is I have rarely, if ever, seen that. So
I've definitely heard that.
Oh no, I'm not saying I haven't.
By like 2 people.
Yeah, I've just said it. I just said it's rare. I'm not saying
Yeah.
I have not heard it at all. It's the internet. You're gonna hear, some negativity, but it's been resounding positive.
Yeah, but yeah, I haven't met anyone yet who's like, I prefer the show so far. I mean, I feel like there's things the show has done better.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Anyway, that takes us to the spoiler section. And we have a couple of things that tie heavily into part 2.
Red Planet.
Most of the items in Ellie's room have a payoff down the line. And at one point, we catch those dinosaur drawings and also
Triceratops,
some
yeah.
motorcycles. In the arcade, Ellie also asks if the next surprise is a dinosaur, and these all tie together for where Joel takes her on her birthday. The pair go to a museum, and this is filled with dinosaur
One of my
exhibits,
favorite
as well
parts.
as the NASA one that Ellie ends up getting into. Been through that a number of times, so sorry for constantly repeating it, but they also referenced it around the campfire last week.
For sure.
The Aha tape and Take On Me playing in the mall returns in a big moment during part 2 as well. At one point,
brought
Ellie
it up.
comes across a guitar and a music.
He brought it up.
I'm
She
sorry,
picks it up
Paul.
and plays it to Dina. It's a great version, and I wanted to play it in the video, but we got hit with copyright claims, so I can't. But I'm going to serenade you with it now as we fade out. So you've got to either listen to me or click a video on the end screen. Talking away, I don't know what I'm to say. I said click a video anyway. That's a nail down, it's okay. Shine it for me. Come on. You would say if you'd be safe and sorry. Come on, take on me. Take on me. Take me on. I'll be good.
I was not expecting that.
That was beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, light on the super spoilery section today, but that was a great way to end it. Another fantastic video, Paul. Despite the fact that you obviously hate this show based off what you said there. There's only one way to take it. You either love it or hate it, and it's pretty obvious. You obviously hate it.
This show is the Last Jedi for him.
You do have the best breakdowns on it. I'm saying it loud and proud today.
Despite the drink thing.
Despite the drink thing, you still that freaking thing you keep missing, buddy. You're going down, Paul. Anyway, guys, follow Andrew on Twitter and Instagram at Agor711. You can catch him on the Jabby Koei channel, falling asleep. And here, he's wide awake, just with some sniffles and clearing of the throats. Let's end this with a Brendan Benzie. How long have you been a patron of ours? Andrew, I want you to take a guess for how long he's been a patron of ours. Go ahead.
I'm going to go with how many years I've known you. So it's been 8 years. I'm going to go.
8 years you think Brendan Benzie's been a patron?
Yes, I'm going to.
We have not had the Patreon that long, but that's a hell of a guess. You want to do round 2?
All right, let's go with 4 years.
4 years. All right, here it is.
I was close.
Less than a year.
Very close.
But you've been your 1 year anniversary is coming up for us in 5 months, my dude. A little less than 5 months, and I hope you're still around here in those 5 months. So what I want you to do, buddy, is if you can just send me a message and answer me 3 questions. 3 questions. Here it is. 1, what other patron accounts are you pledged to? I hope the answer's none. 2, Have you seen the Jabby Koei channel? If so, what are your thoughts? It better be negative. 3, who's your favorite guest on this channel? If you say this guy, I know you're just pandering. Brandon, thanks for being here for so long and showing your support. I hope you also increased your pledge off of this great shout out. But you know what you can do instead of increasing that pledge?
Buy a shirt.
You could use that money to buy a shirt, buddy. Love you, Brandon Benzie. Thanks for being here, cowboy.